most critical thing is starting out with seed. Serendipity, if you're familiar, serendipity, the term simply means chance happenings, things you didn't anticipate or plan on. That is a wonderful thing. I mean, I stand here before you and I say I've learned more things by accident than I ever did on purpose. You have enough accidents and you learn things. That's all there is to it. Well, one of those accidents was a study years ago that I set up for a particular purpose, and then it turned out that we couldn't follow through on it. So here I had 500 and some trees, oaks and maples and pine trees, and there was a fourth species in there, and there were no treatments. We purposely tried to grow these trees very, very uniform so that the treatments that we then imposed would be more accurate. But the trees didn't all grow the same way. Some were big and some were little, and all this variation. There was nothing that we did that we knew of. So I borrowed a backhoe, took the teeth off the backhoe, sharpened the sides and the bottom of the bucket, and I dug up all 500 trees. You sat there on the backhoe, and it wasn't very long. You pick up a tree and you say, and another one and another one. The key was not how many big roots that tree had growing out here and then branched. The big trees always had lots of roots that had initiated right at the base of the stem. Every single time. On the elm, on the pine, on the oak, it didn't matter. The message was very vivid. You need to make that tree branch right at the base of the stem. That's what's most important to the growth and health of the tree. Now, the other thing, you've all taught and heard, and some of you might even believe it, but I don't, is that a tree has to have a taproot. Not true. A taproot is simply Mother Nature's mechanism for helping the seedling survive in adverse conditions. But in reality, where we're taking away those adverse conditions, the sooner we destroy that taproot, the better off the plant is. So our goal, and the reason these containers are 4 inches deep, is because in a whole series of studies where we tried containers 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, we had even some 16 inches deep that went back all the way to when we were doing milk cartons. I first came up using milk cartons as containers to grow trees in 1968. But we, all the way here. But when we grew trees and used this as our pot, the old taproot would go all the way to the bottom. We'd have root branches back up here about 4 inches. We'd have a few roots up here at the top, and then just a piece of pipe in between. What our goal is to have the air prune that tip of the taproot 4 inches below the surface and get all this root branching that was occurring down here at the bottom. Because the rest of this is just wasted. It's volume of mix, it's weight that you have to handle, it's not doing you any good. There's an article I did called the 4-inch rule. And it's one of those things once it hits you, it's like just walking along and you walk face first into a wall. It's just like, well, of course, I should have recognized that a long time ago. If you take a tree or shrub, you take this limb up here, if I prune the tip out of that, where does it branch? Well, it doesn't branch all the way back down here at the bottom. It typically branches back about 4 inches. You shear a hedge and it branches. You shear it again and it branches. What we needed was that branch phenomena underneath the plant. Well, as it turns out, branching of the root system is exactly the same thing down here, at the top as well as the bottom. So when we air root prune this thing at a depth of 4 inches, with most species, we'll get secondary roots forming all the way back up to the base of the stem.